Subscribe now before we move ahead. In 2022, the Russia-Ukraine conflict escalated, impacting global dynamics. Not just a local disagreement, it reverberated worldwide, affecting commodity prices and inciting geopolitical concerns. The deadlock suggested a continuing conflict. Could the war in Ukraine be a portal to a larger, more international dispute, with Africa as the next battlefield? The United States, along with its allies, prepared for a drawn-out confrontation with Russia, recognizing the broader implications of the Ukrainian crisis. But while all eyes were on Eastern Europe, a new front was quietly opening thousands of miles away in Africa. By 2023, the Wagner mercenary group tied to Russia was seeking weapons in Africa for its operations in Ukraine. The group, heavily involved in the Ukraine fighting, had previously faced scrutiny for alleged war crimes in Africa and now had its sights set on the continent once again. The US State Department noted indications of Wagner attempting to purchase military systems through Mali using counterfeit paperwork, signaling increased Russian involvement in Africa. As Russia's military faced equipment shortages due to Western sanctions, it sought weapons from pariah states like Iran, while indirectly acquiring Western parts and technologies. Later the same year, Russian President Vladimir Putin held a meeting with African leaders at the Second Russia-Africa Summit in St. Petersburg. Although only 17 out of 49 African nations sent their heads of state or leaders, Russia's diplomatic ties in Africa were not to be underestimated. Despite the low turnout attributed to Western pressure, the summit revealed Russia's continued ambition to flex its influence in Africa. This ambition was further evidenced by the involvement of the Wagner Group, which has ties to Russian state interests in African countries. So, what does this all mean? The war in Ukraine, far from being an isolated incident, has served as a catalyst for a wider global conflict. As Russia and the United States vie for influence in Africa, the continent could become the next battleground in this geopolitical struggle. This conflict has far-reaching implications, impacting global politics, economics and humanitarian concerns. It exacerbates global food insecurity, leads to economic shocks, and poses political challenges in various countries. The longer the war persists, the more severe these impacts will be, affecting not only Ukrainians, but also people worldwide. To summarize, the war in Ukraine has led to a strategic stalemate, escalating the conflict and potentially opening a new front in Africa. Russia's Wagner mercenary group is seeking weapons in Africa, and despite facing Western sanctions, Russia continues to flex its influence in the continent. As the US and its allies prepare for a protracted confrontation with Russia, the implications of this conflict become increasingly global. The war has disrupted commodity prices, sparked fears of a wider geopolitical struggle, and could lead to a global power shift with Africa at its center.